Next, wallet. Next, wallet issues. Polls show that the most pressing issue to voters is their wallet. Wages are rising, but prices are rising at a faster rate, meaning that people are losing money. Inflation is at an annual rate of 7.8%, the highest in 40 years. What specific policies would you promote to tame inflation? You each have 1 minute. Mr. McCormick.
Oh, this should be great.
Well, listen, as someone who's actually created jobs, and which is the primary goal of what we need to do in Pennsylvania is create jobs, I know a lot about this. And this inflation is killing working families. It's killing elders.
Tell us what you do.
We need to do three things. We need to roll back the massive spending under President Biden. It's been a huge spike.
Deficit is down from Trump to Biden.
Of this inflation. The second thing we need to do is unlock our energy industry. A big part of the inflation is the rise in the cost of fuel. And what Joe Biden's done is taken us from being a net energy export.
That's a global issue that the U.S. can't fix by itself.
We need to unlock that energy. That'll unlock our economy as well and put inflation in check. The third thing we need to do is have pro-growth economic policies, make permanent the Trump tax cuts, and deregulate.
Those are actually deficit positive tax cuts.
Pennsylvania, that'll maintain our young people.
Man, these people are really dumb, really, really dumb. The Trump tax cuts raised the deficit. Biden has since reduced the deficit. And he's saying do the opposite of those things to lower inflation?
Administration is passing these multi-trillion-dollar big bad bills stuffed with Green New Deal policy that's hurting our Pennsylvania farmers and our energy sector. And this inflation that Biden administration has caused is costing every Pennsylvania family more than $5,000. It's a hit in their wallet of $5,000. That's a lot of money. People are struggling to buy gas for their car and get groceries. They're having to make decisions.
Some of them aren't even offering a single solution, and the ones that are offering solutions that aren't solutions.
Pennsylvania, so that we're growing. It's really a turnaround. We've been going in the wrong direction for the last over 40 years.
Like, really ask yourself, after each of them answer the question, ask yourself, can I restate what it is they would do? What would they do?
Over 1,500 miles all across the Commonwealth. You mention a county to me. I see faces. I see stories. I remember their stories. I'm looking in their eyes, and people feel unnerved all across the Commonwealth. We all know that something has fundamentally gone wrong with how our nation is being ran right now. Biden inherited an inflation of 1.7%, and now is over 8% and climbing. I just talked to a farmer not too long ago. He said,
is there a single solution in here? That was the question.
Just to fertilize 600 acres of corn. Today, he's
certainly a lot of manure here.
$20,000, and that is going to continue to go up. We have McCormick talking about bringing energy back. He and Oz, they're both globalists, and they have very strong ties to the World Economic Forum that was primarily responsible for convincing Germany to kill their own energy independence. And now they come before us talking about how they're going to bring energy.
Not a single policy proposal.
Dr. Oz.
Globalist, internationalist.
There are three major ways we can address inflation, much of it caused by overspending, throwing money, in particular during COVID, at problems. And we now know that much of it was fraudulently distributed.
Let's listen.
But now that we've got the problem of inflation, the highest we've had in 40 years, three things we can do. We can raise interest rates, which is what's being done. That's what Biden thinks we should do.
True.
It will ultimately result in our collapse of our economy, into a recession.
Collapse is too far.
Scarcity issues that are driving up prices. When the pizza guy needs Parmesan and mozzarella, he's got to pay more because he can't find it.
Mozzarella.
But the third option, the best option, because it's the major driver of inflation, is energy. And right beneath our feet here in Pennsylvania.
No. So the first thing was right. Raising rates actually does slow inflation, but if you do it too much, you'll get unintended consequences. The rest of this is garbage. We could put it in the trash with his drinkable silver.
That the Biden administration believes in a woke ideology around the Green New Deal, which is just a lie.
No. Woke has nothing to do with inflation.
Done in the time allotted, and yet that's their narrative, and they're not going to change their minds. So we're suffering.
Mr. Bartos.
Right.
I'm running for the United States Senate to save Main Street, Pennsylvania. And the Biden administration's energy policies, which are at the root of so much of the inflation we're seeing, are an insult to farmers, working families, and Main Street small businesses across all 67 counties.
5 candidates.
I spent the pandemic organizing a group to save small businesses. We raised $3.5 million, helped over 1,000 women and men keep the lights on, keep the dream alive of owning their own small business. We have out-of-state political tourists who have dropped into this state to seek this seat, to run for this seat. They don't know Main Street, Pennsylvania, and you cannot save Main Street if you can't find Main Street. But we do know someone who can find Main Street. John Fetterman can find it, and we know that because he spent the pandemic bulldozing Main Street, and he will do it again in the United States Senate. This seat is too important to send an out-of-stater who doesn't know us to Washington. I will beat John Fetterman, and I will fight for Main Street in the United States Senate.
No answers.
Penn State studied aging population in Pennsylvania.
There is no substance here. No substance.
Of the population. It is estimated that in the year 2030, 20% of the population will be over 65. Mr. Bartos, you're a Pennsylvanian who probably wants to retire in Pennsylvania. And Dr. Oz, you're a heart surgeon who has worked with elderly patients. Ms. Barnett, your website talks about more choices for medical care. How would each of you balance the budget while protecting seniors? You have 60 seconds each. Yeah. Ms. Barnett,
tell us.
Yes, you know, we talk about balancing the budget, and yet that hasn't been done. We see our legislators going to Washington, D.C., and simply kicking the can down the road. It is about growing our economy. That is the best thing that we can do. That's the most effective thing that we can do, is begin to, if you want to shore up safety nets such as Social Security to be able to provide for individuals, we need to begin to grow our economy. And how do we do that? By stabilizing the U.S. dollar, by creating an environment where businesses do not want to leave.
Wasn't the question about health care?
Jobs follow companies who are willing to produce here, locate here, and invest here. But in the environment in which we find ourselves, it's a very hostile environment. When you have Janet Yellen galloping all over the world and
Janet Yellen.
Wealth managers not to invest in America energy, how do you grow that economy? So that is what we need to do. We need America First senators who understand what it means to the benefit of stabilizing the U.S. dollar.
Mr. Bartos.
Obamacare robbed hundreds of billions of dollars from Medicare. And make no mistake, Medicare for All is on the ballot with this seat in November. Every Democrat running has said,
I wish that were true.
And they will ram through Medicare for All. The Democrats have said it. They will do it if they retain control of the United States Senate, and they will blow up the filibuster. Our senior citizens need a trusted fighter, a lifelong Pennsylvanian who knows how precious our senior citizens are to the lifeblood and the very fabric of Main Streets across all 67 counties. I'm running to save Main Street, Pennsylvania, and I'll be fighting for our seniors, and I will make sure there will never...
So his solution is to prevent Medicare for All, which already doesn't exist, so it can't be responsible for the current problems.
When I'm a United States Senator.
Wow.
Dr. Oz.
So I went to Wharton Business School to study healthcare finance while I was in medical school at Penn. And the issue with an aging population is you have to find ways of providing them not just traditional medical care, but preventive services, transportation to the doctor, someone to help with groceries. It's a more comprehensive need. What President Trump did, and it was very wise, was to build up Medicare Advantage, a mechanism of using the private sector insurance companies to provide more efficiency than Medicare could provide on its own. That has allowed almost half of the older citizens in this country to get access to a lot more services, much more comprehensively than it could have been otherwise offered. The other thing we have to do in Pennsylvania...
You know, it would be funny if the boring guy ran on, I'm the only man on this stage who won't send these types of eyebrows to Washington.
Positions in high schools around Pennsylvania, most recently in Wyoming County, where they're training young people to work building oil pipes. And it's fantastic. They can learn the electronics. They can become nurses at the facility. They can learn to drive the trucks. But these are the jobs we want our young people to have. Together, we'll make it work.
Sure.